All right, sorry about that, folks. I guess I forgot I switched up the settings this weekend after doing some filming, and I forgot to set them back. So it caused a little bit of an overload. Um, so maybe it wasn't necessarily YouTube, punishing me for what I said, but just something I forgot. In gun parlance, I forgot to check the chamber. Um, but where was I? Yes, I was explaining how I'm not very comfortable with uh, speaking to myself essentially, because that's what I'm doing right now. Because Rob's not here, and there isn't much activity going on in the chat. So it's really hard for me to kind of engage uh, with you right now, because I'm one of those people that likes to interact with people. That I need the interaction, like the ping pong game, as it were, back and forth, and to kind of to speak as though kind of play providing both sides of the conversation is a bit difficult for me. But again, I'll do my best, and again, I'll try and expound on my thoughts more, because I know I have a problem. Um, I like to speak. I speak in sentences, not paragraphs, and it's kind of a weakness for me, because I try to speak as precisely and succinctly as possible. I don't really enjoy. Um, I don't really like expounding too much, or I don't try to. I try to use the necessary amount of words needed to convey a thought or an idea, and I don't. And I like to be as direct as possible. I like, I don't want to try to fill it up for the sake of filling it up. But tonight, I guess that's one of the things I'm trying to push myself, but what I'm trying to grow from, or grow into. Especially if I'm planning on doing this long term, if I'm planning to be someone be somewhat of a thought leader, be someone of someone who kind of does philosophy. I guess it's something that I need to work on, and and also be engaging as well. Interestingly enough, a friend of mine, he's moved away since he told me this, but we always have kind of conversations, and he always told me that I should go into teaching, and specifically teach philosophy, because I'd always kind of come to him and talk about like these philosophical ideas, or kind of bounce these um, thoughts that I would have during the week. And he'd always tell me, he's like, man, you come. I mean, I'm not to esteem myself too much, but he always tell me that I approach things, approached ideas, approached concepts in a very unique way, and also in a way that it should that I should be teaching people this, or I should have a class in these sort of dialectics. Um, and But again, that was me talking to someone else, but not not me playing both sides of the conversation. So I can do. I'll try my best. That's all. That's all. I'll leave it at that. I'll try my best to fill out both sides of the conversation here, uh, and hopefully, more and more practice, this will become more like second nature to me. Um, and I can be a better content provider, and I can also be a bet. I can also do better analysis, better commentary, better better public speaking, because I mean this is what public speaking is, what I'm doing right now. Um, Even though right now, I mean, there's not many people watching this right now, but there's still people watching, and uh, I think well, I'm not nervous per se, but I sometimes it gets a little flustering trying to speak and trying to get your ideas out there. But yeah, again, I'll do my best. Just, kind of piggybacking off the idea of bettering oneself and overcoming obstacles. I guess we'll get into the topics of the day, and the first one is Demi Lovato has a conniption at frozen yogurt shop here in Los Angeles, and it didn't go over very well, particularly in social media, where she thought that she was going to gain sympathy points and say, oh, and her fans or her supporters were going to rally around her, and she was going to kind of be what is it? An energy vampire. Just kind of sucking the energy from her followers. Like, oh, oh, poor Demi. Oh, I can't believe you went through. You're such a hero for facing your fears or whatever. But it actually turned out to be the opposite effect. And people were coming to the defense of the frozen yogurt shop, saying they did nothing wrong. And by my estimation, they didn't. They didn't do anything wrong. They were running their business the way because it's their business. And Demi Lovato, it's no secret that she has a litany of problems. Most of them being psychological. Whether ones that she can't help, like bipolar, and the other being an eating disorder, which she can help, and she has to work on every single day. Kind of like an alcoholic who maybe shouldn't who on his daily walk shouldn't shouldn't have that liquor store part of his path for his walk every day. But also that's kind of using the analogy of that alcoholic, having doing kind of like exposure therapy, and just like kind of conditioning yourself to not be triggered by the sight of the liquor store. Even I've heard testimonies of people, like even if they heard the hum of like neon signs, that would like kind of get kind of trigger that thing in them that wants to have a drink, because a lot of liquor stores have neon signs, and the hum of that is enough to get trigger that person into triggering their cravings for alcohol. So yeah, I mean, the story goes that Demi Lovato went into this frozen yogurt shop, and this particular establishment wants to accommodate a wide base, right? They want to get they want to appeal to as many customers as possible, so they offer many different options. Sugar-free, or gluten-free, or without nuts, or whatever. They it seemed like they had a lot of options to appeal to a wide base of people. But for some reason, Demi Lovato took this as a personal attack against her. She said, like, she walked in and she saw the signs that said guilt-free or sugar-free, and she said the words herself. She got triggered. She got triggered, and she went. She left the establishment not getting any dessert. Which made her very sad. Very sad. And she again, she tried to play the victim. in this, and saying like, oh, I saw the signs, guilt free, and it's like, and sugar free. It's like, it's very triggering to someone with an eating disorder. It's like, then don't patronize the business, or get a thicker skin, because the world is a lot tougher than just having to deal with frozen dessert businesses. It's way more tougher. Um, I'll just use myself as an example because I can. And I think I'm a good example. I'm a good example of someone who has to every day overcome something. And it's the mundanest of tasks, yet I have to find a way to accomplish them. And I have to find a way to accomplish them, and then also get over that feeling of inadequacy, or feeling of or feeling that it's unfair that I have to go through this. It's I mean, because of this, my life was pretty hard, trying to figure out how to do things like tie my shoes, or put on pants, brush my teeth, comb my hair, uh, put on my glasses, use a pen, use a pencil, use scissors, uh, um, a myriad of daily tasks that people who have typical hands kind of take for granted, because everything's made for with you in mind, right? Um, Scissors are designed for one-handed usage, and or cars are designed for typical hands, and pens are designed for typical hands, and even my camera. When I learned, I had to learn how to use a camera, or at least you learn how to be able to manipulate it for me. That was designed with typical hands in mind. But I never, I'll admit there were times where I was frustrated. There was times, I just want to shout at the world and say, this is so unfair, and why can't the world, adjust to me or accommodate me? But as I got older, I got more proficient and skilled at doing things. It became a non-issue. Became a non-issue, and now I'm largely independent. I can do everything. I go everywhere. I drive my car. I take my pictures. I use the computer. I use my cell phone. I use scissors to cut out things. And and yeah, it sucks. It's I'm not gonna make any illusions out. I mean, I hope I didn't make any illusions to the fact that my life was easy, but it wasn't. And every day I have to make little adjustments here and there, and yes, it's annoying, and yes, it's um, it's very frustrating. Having to take the time, and trying to figure out a way, but ultimately it's made me a stronger person. Because I'm no longer like, when I'm confronted with a problem or a hurdle, I'm not just I just don't go into fetal position and just like, oh, it's so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. But I have a kind of like the Marine Corps motto, improvise, adapt, overcome. I made that a bit of a mantra for my life, and and I've used it to great success. Where it's like, yeah, improvise. Like if something happens, if a new type of task or some unforeseen situation comes up, you improvise. Um, you use a tool, you use your surroundings. I remember when I was learning to tie my shoes. Um, you know, uh, what is it? I would have, sometimes I would use the corner of benches you know, or any kind of flat surface that I can find near me to like hold it down and then pull my shoestrings taut. Um, and that was an improvisation. And then once improvisation, I kept doing that improvisation. I adapted to it. It became a part of me, and so therefore I was able to overcome. But yeah, so Demi Lovato, being triggered over, you know, a display rack that with signs that said guilt free or sugar free, and that like somehow triggering her eating disorder is it's just ludicrous, and it's just, and I'm kind of upset that I'm talking about this because it's so petty, um it's so mundane, it's and you might some of you might kind of come back at me and it's like, oh, have some some sympathy, and try to see it from it must be it must be hard with her bipolar and like eating disorder and living in a society that does that that puts unrealistic expectations on how you look and your body. It's like, hello, hello. Everywhere, any advertise I see, it doesn't matter that if they're not even, if they're not even Asian, because they'll never be someone like me in an advertisement. Yeah, you'll see someone like, you'll see a guy in a wheelchair, yes, but you won't necessarily see me. A guy with these kind of hands in an advertisement for anything. So don't tell me about unrealistic unrealistic standards for beauty or or how, body shape or whatever. And also, just another anecdote about the idea that women have more are pressured more to look a certain way. I remember, this is one of many, but this is the most recent one. I remember that I went to go watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That the Quentin Tarantino movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. There's a scene in that movie where Brad Pitt is doing like some handyman work, right, on the roof, and it's a beautiful Southern California day. The sun is shining, the sun, and he's on the roof, and there's like this good breeze, and so uh, Brad Pitt's character removes his shirt, and he reveals his all of his studly glory, and the number of hooting and hollering I heard from women was ridiculous, and all of like the cat calls was hysterical. It's like woohoo, oh yeah, baby, take it off. You know what? And then there was also there was a scene where Margot Robbie, who plays Shannon Tate in the movie, and she came out and she was very Margot Robbie is a very lovely woman. And and you know how many men I heard hooting and hollering when she came out on screen? Zero. All right. So so all those women hooting and hollering for Brad Pitt and his studly studly abs or whatever, They're the ones who are so they're the ones who are they're setting the what is it unrealistic expectations on men's bodies, all right, or body shaming. All right, those hooting, those you can call them affirmative responses, but they're the ones who are hooting and hollering for you know for that particular look. I mean, I don't have that look. I'll be honest. If it wasn't, I like beer. I drink beer. I still drink beer. I'm not, I am not morbidly obese. I try and be active and try and eat right and all that good stuff. But if I'd have to try very hard to get to the level of Brad Pitt in that movie. But is that an unrealistic body standard? In the way that certain people talk or push things, then yes, that's an unrealistic body standard for men. I mean, again, same thing that goes with for Chris Hemsworth. I remember like one of the Thor movies. He appeared shirtless, and again, the number of hooting and hollering I heard from women in the audience, it was insane. It was like being at a rock concert. It was like that. It was that level of like that kind of enthusiasm for Chris Hemsworth. Unobtainable body standard. So yeah, Demi Lovato, maybe toughen up a little bit. Maybe work on yourself. Or don't patron those kind of businesses. Because she did all of this flipping and flopping, where it's like, oh no, I'm just concerned about the something called diet vultures, or like kind of like the health food grift, and then she was like even saying like, oh well, maybe they shouldn't use that kind of verbiage or whatever. It's like, bitch, you don't own the business, all right? And she tried to play it off as though she's like offering a suggestion, but she's really making a demand. Let's be real, all right? She was making a demand of that business that she has no say in. It's like, oh, you really ought to. I think the word, like the way she put it was like, they really ought not, or like they shouldn't have used that sort of language. It's like, bitch, that's not your business. All right, you don't own that place. You don't pay the rent on that. You don't pay the overhead. You don't pay for the electricity. On those freezers that hold all the ice cream. Who the fuck are you? And you could nice it up by saying that, oh, I was just offering a suggestion. It's like, fuck you and your suggestion. I'm so sick of these people who just because like they have some kind of thing wrong with them. In the case of Demi Lovato with her psychological issues and whatnot, just like, but that doesn't make you a hero. That doesn't make you the mouthpiece for all people with bipolar or eating disorders, or if you want to be a good example, be a good example. All right, be stronger. All right, this fucking weakness this pisses me off so much. All right, because weakness is not a strength. All right, weakness is weakness. All right, we typically try to get over our weaknesses. I mean, again, I'm going to use the example of the military, where it's like, the standard doesn't drop down to the worst soldier. It's always to the best soldier. So I don't know, what happened into our society where now it's like we have to play down to the worst person or the weakest person in our society. That's no that's no way to run a military. There's no way to run a society, right? Because we should be aspiring to be the best always, and I'll admit I'm not Demi Lovato fan, but I enjoy some of her songs. Okay, so I want Demi Lovato to be better. I want her to be stronger. I want her to be fucking hard as nails, right? I want her to be like steel. I want her to be able, I want her to be able to overcome her demons. And I would hope everyone else would too. Anyone who says, like, "Oh, poor Demi. Oh, yes, Queen. You showed them. So yes, thank you for being." No, fuck that shit. All right. If you want to be an example, be a strong example. Don't be a weak one. There's no nobility in weakness. There's no nobility in. There's no honor in in playing or being a victim. You have my sympathy, you have my decency, but I'm not gonna celebrate your victimhood. That's fucking ridiculous. And it's also very patronizing. It's like anyone like who I remember back when I was in art school, I did a piece where I'd have like a hidden camera and I'd record reactions of tellers, because I remember, because the thing was like at the time whenever someone handed me when a clerk at a store handed me change, like coins, I did put my hands out to receive the coins, and they would like kind of like cautiously bring it to set it over my hands where I say my hands are. And then they drop them in, and then they immediately say, "You got it?" And I was like, "Yeah." But when it was someone with typical hands, they would just drop the coins in and be like, and that was it. So I was trying to, and so what I did was I filmed them. I didn't get their, I didn't like did it creepily. I didn't show their faces or nothing, but just I was more or less trying to get the audio of them saying, it's like, "You got it." But but in a weird way, in a very soft way, that's very patronizing. But it's understandable. I've come to realize that it's patronizing yet understandable that they ask me that. Because they don't know me. They don't know what my capabilities are, and they're trying to be as considerate and delicate as possible. And for Demi Lovato, I would just ask her, or her fans or supporters, I would say, in this instance, don't enable her to keep holding on to that cloak of victimhood. Because anything that doesn't go her way, she could then run to and put that cloak on and be like, "Oh, I'm a victim. Oh, poor me. I can never get over it." So, yeah. So don't let her do that. Don't continue to keep her in that place where she's abused, or she feels that she can never crawl out of. Every day there are holes people have to climb out every single day. And sometimes it's the same hole, right? Because of some like chronic condition, or some long-term mental problems. It's a hole they have to climb out of every day. But wouldn't it be nice if they didn't have to? Like, they didn't have to like get it back in that hole, at night, and then wake up in the morning and then try to claw themselves back out again after they. That's what it is. Every enabler, is someone who puts the person back into the hole that they just climbed out of. That's what it is. Oh my God. Whoo, man. Sorry, I'm a little impressed with myself right now, just coming up with that analogy. But yeah, that's what it is. Enablers, that's what it is. A person who strives to climb out of a hole. An enabler is someone who puts them back into that hole. Wow. Okay. uh, yeah. So no more enabling. We should. It's not so much. I mean, it is victim culture, um, or victimhood, or seeking victimhood status. Um, but it's really enabler culture. This kind of soft, like, oh, poor you, poor you. Oh, it's like, oh, life's so hard. Oh, but here, just get back into your hole. Just get back into your hole. That's what enablers are. So anyone who's who's kind of playing who's oh, poor Demi Lovato, poor Demi Lovato, oh, you poor thing, just stop. All right, stop putting her back in that hole. That's all you're doing. You're putting Demi Lovato back in that hole. Man, that was something. We went the full circle. Kind of criticizing her to and criticizing her, uplifting her, uh, empathizing with her, and then rooting for her. That's that's the full circle. Criticism, encouragement, empathy, sympathy, to support. That's the full circle. It's a good circle to get in on. Everyone should get in on that circle. All right. Yeah, that's all I got to say about the whole Demi Lovato situation. Enablers, stop it. Stop it right now. All right, let's get into the second news topic of the day, and that is, again, I teased it in the beginning, but yeah, BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors went and bought her some multi-million-dollar homes. Even though she, it's stressed that she doesn't take any money from BLM. But how did she afford these homes then? That makes you wonder. I think the most prominent being is like a 1.3, $1.4 million home in Topanga Canyon here, actually not very far from where I live. In a very what's the word I'm looking for? In a very exclusive community, with a noticeable lack of a certain demographic. Yeah. So Patrisse Cullors bought this home, and again, where did the money come from? Has anyone even stopped to ask that question? Where did she get the money from? If she's not getting a paycheck from the Black Lives Matter organization, where did the money come from? She bought 4 properties. One, the most expensive being the Topanga Canyon one. I think that's why it's being highlighted. But there's other like $100,000 homes. I think like really big estates, and one I think has like a private landing strip for small airplanes. So where'd the money come from? Where'd the money come from that she's able to buy these homes? And immediately someone, I know immediately some of you might, come back at me with like, oh, well, she also has, signed a deal with Warner Brothers or Netflix, I forget which, but she has a deal to, create content for the, one of those studios. It's like, yes, but would it cover the price tag for those homes? I'm a bit dubious. on whether or not the deal she signed with those with the studios to create content for them, like in the form of documentaries or whatever, that would cover the bill for those properties. That's all I'm saying. I'm dubious. If it turns out that is the source, okay, all right, and then she didn't take any money from the deal, but but you can't help but question, where'd the money come from, or like, where's the money gone? Like since the group's inception back in, I think, 2014, 2013. They've amassed millions of dollars, and I think a big chunk of the money that they raised over the years came from even just this past year with all like the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor stuff. So you can't help. So you can understand why some people are have these questions about where the money came from. Because so if it comes out and it's proven that that she used the money that she got paid, in that deal to make documentaries for Warner Brothers or Netflix, okay, fine, all good. I'll walk, moving on. But you have to ask yourself, where's the money? And where's all that money that people have been donating to? Where is the Black Lives Matter scholarships for people for black kids to go to college, or where's the where's the BLM fund to help struggling black businesses during the Corona lockdowns? Where are the BLM rec centers built by Black Lives Matter to help black communities with resources and whatnot? Where's that money going to? I have not seen one thing done with that money, or one thing Black Lives Matter has done. Nothing, not even one. And interestingly enough, Tamir Rice's mother and Breonna Taylor's mother have both come out in criticizing the Black Lives Matter organization. I think recently, Breonna Taylor's mother more recently came out, criticizing the group, using her daughter's name and image to promote Black Lives Matter and collect tons of donations. And it's on her Facebook page. But I think she's more salty that she's not getting a taste of that. I mean, just to be honest, and even I think her name is Tamir Rice's mother, the black boy that was shot by police because he was waving around a toy gun. Even she came out against them, saying like, stop using my son's name, stop re-victimizing me, essentially, because that's all they're doing. Like when they keep invoking their names, they're just re-victimizing those people. And that's in my opinion, that's disgusting. Because you're re-victimizing that person. You're propping up a dead body. And that's disgusting. To me personally, that's my opinion. And I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking the question: where's the money? Where did that money come from that you could buy those homes? And also, just another note. I didn't come up with this. I forget where I heard this from, but or who said it. But here's a Marxist who is using capitalism. And part of us shouldn't be even mad at her. She's using capitalism, even though she's a trained Marxist. Capitalism is so great, it makes Marxists rich. So, if anything, it destroys the idea of Marxism, because one of the most notable Marxists in this country has used capitalism to amass herself oodles and oodles of money. And a part of me isn't even mad at her, because she hustled. She hustled that money out of trusting dopes, um, that are so ready to show their so quick to demonstrate their virtue that they're not even willing to take a minute to critically think about something. But then again, according to the New York Times, critical thinking is a white man thing. Oh my God, this is the dumbest timeline. All right, I'm just gonna say it. Me and Rob have this running gag about how this, if you're familiar with like time travel tropes, and the idea of timelines, and I think one of the first examples of this was Back to the Future, Back to the Future 2, where if you're not familiar, Doc takes Marty to the future to ensure that his son doesn't take part in this robbery, and while Marty's in the future, he happens upon an antique store which happens to have an almanac with the outcome of every sporting events for the past from the 1950s to 2000, for 50 years, had all the outcomes of the games, football, hockey, baseball, basketball, you name it, professional and collegiate. And so he had the bright idea of taking the almanac and using it to go and make and gamble, do some sport betting, and make a little cheddar on the side, as it were. And so, but Doc, rebukes Marty and says like, "Oh, I didn't create this for gambling," and they didn't. But what they were unaware of, and they talked about like all of this and the time machine, unbeknownst to them, in front of the future Biff, who was the antagonist from the first movie. And upon hearing this, he is able to retrieve the almanac and steal the DeLorean time machine away to go and give the almanac to his past self, his younger self from the first movie, and with it goes on to make millions of dollars, and then interestingly enough, becomes a bit of a Trump caricature, and which so then they, by old Biff going to the past to give his younger self that almanac to change the future, they created an alternate timeline, and so that is the reference that me and Rob are always kind of laughing at when we hear stories like this, where like a Marxist is used capitalism to buy herself a house. So it's like this is the stupidest timeline that we live in. Sometimes the cover up is worse than the actual crime. But I don't know. She tried to excuse what she had done by saying that, oh, I don't think of it as my money, it's my family's money, and I'm taking care of my family, I'm taking care of my kids, I'm taking care of my husband, I'm taking care of my mom, I'm taking care of my auntie, I'm taking care of cousin Floyd, or I'm taking and it's like, oh, so I bought those, I'm buying these houses for them, not necessarily for them to live in, but so it's like that doesn't hold water. Your Honor, does the defense case hold water? No, it doesn't. That's obviously a lie. That's obviously rationalization, justification. Um, like if you bought one, if you stole one ice cream, let's say one ice cream sandwich, and you said, oh, I'm not stealing this ice cream sandwich for me. I'm stealing it for my family, to give it to my family. That doesn't make sense, because if you stole an entire carton of ice cream sandwiches, that could be understood. But if you only steal one ice cream sandwich, a personal size ice cream sandwich, you saying, oh, I'm gonna, I bought it for my family so that they can enjoy it. It's like, how are you gonna split a personal size ice cream sandwich for your entire family? And let's say your family has like 5 people. I know that, and I realize that that's not a perfect analogy, but I've had a long day, and this is the longest I've talked in a really long time. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself that I'm actually keeping this up, and I'm actually, I'm having both sides of the conversation. And so, I think this is a win for me. Yeah. So yeah, Patrice Colors, yeah, bought multi-million-dollar properties from money nobody knows where, and to the point where even now I think like a branch, not like Black Lives Matter main group, but a branch of Black Lives Matter is now asking for an investigation into Patrice Colors to see where that money came from to buy for those. If she indeed stole from the coffers of BLM, then she's in trouble. She is in trouble. And but I hope and I hope this opens people's eyes to things like this. And I'm not I full-heartedly agree with the sentiment of of the phrase Black Lives Matter, but I can't support the organization Black Lives Matter, because they fundamentally go against what I or they supposedly go against what I fundamentally believe in, and one of which is the nuclear family: mother, father, children. There's an old saying that when someone tells you who they are the first time, believe them. And so yeah, Patrice Colors and her partner, her fellow co-founder, they both came out and said that, yeah, we're trained Marxists. Oh, interestingly enough, like their mentor was someone, I forget who, but he was one of the heads of the Weather Underground. And for those of you who don't know, the Weather Underground was a very violent extremist group in the 70s who they were trying to bring about the communist revolution here in America, and they utilized some violent tactics. They blew up. It was crazy because they were even able to steal, like, I think like military grade explosives and actually set them off. I first learned about this through a video from Mr. Reagan. He's a content creator on YouTube, and it was really eye-opening. And it makes a lot of sense that their mentor, or the founders of BLM, their mentor was someone who was basically a terrorist. The Weather Underground was a terrorist organization. They used fear and violence to try to advance their political agenda. I think I'll link that Mr. Reagan video in the description. for you guys to check out. You guys should watch it. It's an eye opener for sure. It's an eye opener for sure. Yeah. um, yeah, I was trying to come up with a nice like closer to everything, but I can't because my voice is starting to go and my brain is starting to blank out there. So yeah, that'll be it for the live stream today. Well, that'll be it for the news topics for tonight, and that'll conclude this part of the stream. The movie review will be next. Will be coming up again. Guest this month's movie review. This month's theme being guest month. Our guest Laire has picked Godzilla, the 1950s Godzilla, not the most recent Godzilla. Uh, so look forward to that. I want to thank everyone for joining me. I hope you were entertained. Once I got into my groove, it wasn't that bad, and maybe I'll try to make more solo addresses like this for the channel. But yeah, it was challenging, and I think I grew a lot from this time, and I think next time I won't be so apprehensive to do the stream by myself, because I know we had a little bit of a hiccup, but I covered a lot of time. Even with the restart, I almost did an hour by myself. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that. And I'll leave you guys with this. I hope you guys every day you take one more step out of that hole. It doesn't have to be anything grand or big, but just, every little step out of that hole is progress, and people should take pride in that. When every time you get out of that hole, you should every step you take to get out of that hole, you should be proud of, because it was a step that you didn't take the day before. So yeah, keep working on getting out of those holes, and think question things. All right, there's nothing wrong with questioning things. I know nowadays we have a society kind of obsessed with the idea of consensus, and say, oh no, like so and so, they basically majority rule. But not even majority rule though, because they really want we're coming into a society that's all about consensus. Like everyone agrees, everyone has to agree on the same thing, and have the exact same opinion on everything. But that's not how the world works. It's just simply not how the world works. Some people like vanilla, some people like chocolate, some people think that you should be free to make your own decisions and own risk assessments, and some people desperately want to keep you in a face diaper. But that's okay. We don't always have to agree on everything. As maybe a good way of saying is we don't always have to have the same opinion on something, but as long as we're facing in the same direction, we're in a good place. So all right, that'll do it for me. Please stick around for the movie review. I want to thank you for joining me, and let's do it all again next week. right, jerk faces. It's that time of the night. It's the movie review. And tonight, as you know, it is, or this month is guest month. And for this month, we have not a new face, but definitely a friend of the podcast. We have Laire.
How you guys doing?
Good to have you.
Awesome
Yeah,
to be
I mean,
here.
it's been a minute. It's been a minute since we got together, or we saw each other, either digitally or in person.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And the last time we did a podcast together, you got me totally drunk on beer, and we were in person. So it was a long
yeah,
time
that's right.
ago.
Of course.
That was the last episode that you were on. We did the July 4th episode.
That was great. Yeah, that's right.
Let it never be said. Let it never be said that we don't know how to treat our guests.
Oh no, that's pretty awesome. It actually got me to discover some new beers too. So
that was a fun episode though. That was a fun.
I remember his favorite was the Rasputin. That very heavy.
The Imperial Stout, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, but as it is guest month, you should know that the guest picks the movies, and tonight, Laire, he has picked Godzilla, the original 1954, I believe it was.
Yes.
And as per custom, let me just hit y'all with the synopsis. It's a pretty succinct synopsis. A fire-breathing behemoth terrorizes Japan after an atomic bomb awakens it from its centuries-old sleep.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much explains the story, and I don't know. I don't think he's a big enough. I don't think Laire is a big enough fan of Godzilla.
Well, the thing is, when I was growing up, like monster movies for me as a kid, the ones that I saw were the Godzilla movies, the Godzilla, the Rodans, Mothra, all those, movies from the 60s and 70s, that were airing on TV when you were a little kid. Those were the monster movies that I was exposed to. I wasn't seeing, Frankenstein and Wolfman and, vampire movies and those kind of things. So I never really considered them monster movies. Like, to me, those guys are wimps, man. Look at Godzilla, man. Now that's a monster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I think of the original, which I'm not a Godzilla file like you are, but I wanted to, but I'm interested in it because I love, like, King Kong is like one of my favorite movies. Yeah, what I consider that like a monster movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can definitely see the inspiration that King Kong, that inspired Godzilla. I see a lot of like the tie-ins in those ways, and obviously we're going to be having that the Godzilla versus King Kong here that's coming out here pretty soon, I think, actually.
Yeah, I think this year, end of the year or something like that. I forget when.
So obviously, when I watched this original, which I'd never seen the original Japanese before, I'd always watched the original American version. That's the only version I had seen with Raymond Burr.
Yeah.
But watching the original, I was blown away by how powerful this movie is, and this is it's not just like a good monster movie, it's just a good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And the American version with Raymond Burr, that came out 2 years after the Japanese movie was out,
right?
And when you do compare the two, you see how they cut in just footage interspersed with the original, and you can see where, even in the first scene, they're bringing him in, from being injured, and then Emiko, the main female character, comes in to talk to him, and it's not her because they only show her back.
Right, yeah.
Clothes, and it's like they had no way of trying to tie in without having somebody to play.
Yeah. I will say, because I really, because I'm a fan of anime, and I like watching a lot of foreign movies too, especially Japanese and Korean movies. And I really hate dubbed films. Honestly, like to me, it's like the actors that are doing the voice acting. Maybe not like maybe it's not their fault, but I feel like have you ever like watched like what you're gonna be doing? It's like it feels like they're just reading off of this like screen or screenplay, and they're just like reading the lines, and it's like no, you're missing all the emotion and the tensity of like the moment. Where in the thing is like when I watch like other like animated stuff that's English animated stuff, there's still good voice actors out there that can convey that emotion. But like whenever there's anything that's like dubbed, it's like why is this so awful?
Yeah. Well, the thing is with the Godzilla movies, the ones that they made in the '60s, the dubbing was way better than it was today. The dubbing that's done, from like even if you look at the Godzilla movies from that they remade in the '90s, most god awful pieces of crap ever. The dubbed version, because it's horrible. And it's like, how come, like in the '60s, the people who did the dubbing, had at least some emotion into what they were, doing. But yeah, you're right. The best way to watch any of these movies, any foreign movie, is get over reading subtitles. Okay, it's not going to take you out of the picture. You can do it. We all went to school. We learned how to read. We can read subtitles. All right, do that because you're missing out on the actors, the tone of their voice, the inflection of what they're saying. Let them do what they did and let them do what they did so greatly. You lose that when you have something that's dubbed, or especially when it's poorly dubbed, and also the translation may not even be the same. So I've
Right.
seen, like I've watched, a decent movie where I've seen, like in anime, the English version done well, and then I watched the original with the subtitles, and I'm like, hey, well, wait a minute, they said this, and they didn't say that in the,
Right.
in the
Yeah.
English version, and what they're showing on your subtitles like a little bit more. It's got some bite to it, or it's got more, it's like a more true interpretation.
Yeah. Well, and because in talking about like the two originals. Now, I would say the American one that came out a couple of years later with Raymond Burr, that's actually not, as much as I hate dubbing, this one wasn't so egregious because they did leave in a lot of the original Japanese dialogue, uh, though some of the translations based off the Raymond Burr, his was it that was his character's name,
Steve Martin, a
Steve
wild and
Martin.
crazy guy.
Yeah. Steve Martin, his translator, like he's translating what's being said, albeit obviously like some of the what's being translated, like that's not actually what was said. And I think what they were trying to do is stay away from like the idea of the director of the American one. He was trying to stay away from anything like very political, and knew that like it couldn't be just like a full on just Japanese subtitle movie because it just thinking about it like not even 10 years after the end of World War II, like there's just no way that that an American audience was gonna like this is why am I watching this, like it was still a little too fresh. Well, I kind of get it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. There's definitely there's definitely things left out in the American version. The Japanese movie is almost 10 minutes longer than the American version.
Yeah.
And there are definitely scenes that are cut. There's scenes in in the city hall that are talking about nuclear. They touch on it a little bit in the American version, but they got more into like they show in the American version. They cut to like this argument happening, but there's this whole precursor that was completely cut out of the American version. That's in the original Japanese version.
Yeah, I Sarazawa and
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one thing, but even in the city hall thing, there's this whole argument about, letting the people know about what's going on, and they hack that all out. And then there's another scene, um, I think right before Godzilla attacks the city with the people on the train, there's a scene that they completely omitted out of the American version because they talk about, we want to have to go back to our shelters, or something or whatever. Like, they make reference to the war, and they just completely hack that out.
Yeah. Andy, what are your thoughts?
Well, yeah. Now that you've given me a chance to actually speak, jeez. Yeah, no, I like this movie. It's God damn it, son of a bitch. My camera just went out. But I guess I'll still talk. This, as I try to get things back on. Again, I really like this movie. The English version with Raymond Burr and stuff. I thought they did a very admirable job of kind of integrating the footage from the original Japanese version, and then sticking Raymond Burr into it. You'd think it would be a little clunky, but it really wasn't that bad.
No.
If I'm to be honest. You would think that them trying to put in like this Western character in this Japanese movie, would be overbearing. But in a weird way, it's kind of nice that him being a reporter, we're basically, he's become the audience, and he's become kind of like the avatar for the audience, like kind of witnessing all these things that are going on around him, and it's a nice way for I guess it was a smart thing to do for so Western audiences can feel like I don't know, like they had an entry point for themselves.
Right.
Almost like we're seeing the story from a different angle, because it didn't feel like it was so like egregiously like, oh, this is not the same movie, and obviously like certain things are cut out, and in a way it kind of makes sense because we're seeing it from a completely different character's eyes too. That's why I said it's not so egregious that like of what they did.
Right. And the way that it was pieced together, and I definitely agree with that, is they did do it well. And the scenes where they had to add him in, they made them look similar to the location of where he was supposed to be. They did a really good job of fitting him and the actors that were there for.
Right. And it's like it was smart that that he was a reporter, and so he didn't necessarily have to be in those meetings with like the government officials, or having those discussions with certain key figures. And so it made sense that he would be kind of like again reporting on the situation, and not necessarily being like being part of the story itself.
Right. And then I thought it was really smart for his Japanese cohort there that helped him with interpretation and took him around. He spoke English. I mean, that's not dubbed. That's him.
Yeah, and that was probably I mean, obviously an Asian American actor, but like maybe he is also Japanese American. So
I think that's played by James Hong was the guy that was who was it? Yeah, I think it was. Oh no, James Hong did the like some of the dub, like the English voices. I'm trying to hold on a second. Was it that was his? I forget who played his translator, but like he did a great job. Like he was.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that's what I think made.
Oh no, James Hong. James Hong was Dr. Serizawa.
and Ogata. Yeah, he did the voices for those two.
Yeah.
And then Sammy Tong did Professor Yamane.
Okay.
But who the hell? I'm trying to like. I'm looking at the cast list and I can't. I'm not seeing his name, but like. But yeah, no, he did a great job as like that character.
And that was smart to do. Yeah,
yeah.
totally. And again, like you're saying that with the timing of when that movie came out, it's World War II still is pretty fresh, So I think that also helped in with not being a political movie by taking a lot of the politics out of it, but still in a sense it is because it shows American-Japanese relations on a positive.
I think it was setting something up for like it being more kind of like hey like it's a Japanese and an American film kind of together.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of setting bringing a little bit of healing in that sense.
Yeah.
Because Raymond Burr wasn't like, oh, I hate the Japanese or anything like that.
Damn the Japs or whatever.
Yeah, no, he Dr. Serizawa was actually one of his friends that he he stopped by in Japan to see him before his initially like, he was trying to go to like Egypt.
Right.
So I like that part of it, and actually the constraints that they were under, because the director of the American scenes that were done, they had like 3 days. They did it all in like 3 days. And Raymond Burr, he wanted to do all his stuff. Like they only had him for like a very short time. Then 24 hours with him, and he chose like, no, we're gonna do it all in like one go. It's like he did a 24-hour like shoot.
Oh yeah, so basically, so it's basically pulling a Sinatra, like trying to do everything in one take, and like no second take, just one take.
Now I will say, like, if Raymond Burr is quite the narrator, I really like. Honestly, like, I would love to have him narrate one of my films. It's like he has one of those like iconic voices that like he's a great narrator. I like Raymond Burr.
Yeah, he did a good job in that. I mean, okay, so he may not be Morgan Freeman, but
there are obviously there are, but at that time, like I would say, like he's pretty good. I like he has that very distinct voice.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I think there's some better narrators, especially nowadays. But I was like, wow, okay, I like Raymond Burr. And I mean I'm a fan of Perry Mason too, so maybe that helps as well.
Well, it's funny, like there was that old show that he was in called Ironside, in which he was a cop.
Right.
It's like, what? Raymond Burr can walk?
Yeah. I mean, it's it kind of tends to happen where where actors are so tied to like the characters that they play. It's like I mean, I'm sure some people like when Daredevil came out recently, and then the actor Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock, and he does a very good job. And so like when they do like those interviews, and especially like those walking interviews, it's like where's his sunglasses? Where's his cane? So
that's funny.
But yeah, no, I like I said, it's like with the original Japanese, in both of them, it's like to me, it feels like a natural progression from King Kong, which is why I like it, and like I said, it has a lot of like, especially the original Japanese has so many deep, insightful things. Like the characters are very believable. Everyone's kind of like not necessarily like they're wanting different things. They're not, and they're obviously like Japan is like kind of like trying to recover, and some people are like obviously like Dr. Yamane wants to study as a paleontologist. He wants to study Godzilla and like see like how did this happen. Whereas other people are like, no, we got to destroy it, and they're trying to do all these things, and nothing's working. And yet, Dr. Serizawa, who has been he's kind of like this mad scientist who is, designed this like oxygen destroyer. and this is like the only way that's gonna save like Japan. But he doesn't want to use it because he knows it's probably going to be used for evil, just like how probably his feelings are like the nuclear bombs, the hydrogen or the H bombs have been used in a bad way. So he doesn't want his experiments, his creations to become the same thing. Like he wants it. He ends up destroying like all his notes, and it's like I'll use it, but I'm destroying everything, and everything's gonna go with me. And I think that's actually why he ended up sacrificing himself.
Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Everything's going to go, even himself, and he knew it. He knew he would have to make that ultimate sacrifice because like he said, I know in the Japanese movie, that he says, who's to say? He says it's still up in here. Who's to say that I'm not going to be forced to, build it again, even if I destroy all my notes?
Yeah. It's really it's actually a very like a touching and sad ending to the movie.
Oh yeah, totally. I was really sad for Godzilla.
Oh, I was very sad. I felt bad for Godzilla.
Yeah, I mean, the other guy, okay, mad scientist, sure, but
well, it's really the same way I felt bad for King Kong because he didn't ask for any of that stuff to happen.
Yeah, true. I mean, it's the same with Godzilla, I mean, the movies that they came out with, afterwards, obviously, they became a little more cheesy and whatever. But you know what? They're still fun. They're still fun movies to watch. The ones in the '60s, at least, all the way up until Destroy All Monsters was late '60s, and that was pretty cool. But then it started to get like really cheesy with like Revenge of Godzilla, and then the ones in the '70s were like really, 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 really cheesy. But Godzilla 1985 maybe is one that you should watch because Raymond Burr is in that movie. He reprises.
I didn't know that.
His character.
Oh, he reprises the role.
Yes.
Nice.
I mean, it's minimal, but his character is brought back in.
Okay, I'll add that to my list because honestly, like I was, that was one thing I was going to ask you too. Like, what are because I'm new to like the whole Godzilla thing, and obviously it's been one of the longest running film franchises, if not the longest. And yeah, I was like, and obviously you're a huge fan. Like, what are like some of like the ones that people should watch that you would recommend?
I would recommend because following Godzilla, they did Rodan. And Rodan was based basically with the same type of premise and with the same, not being cheesy, but with the same style as they did with Godzilla, except, you're dealing with these giant pterodactyls. And there's two of them in that movie. And again, the way that they present that movie is the same, seriousness of, as of what if this happened, and again, they are able to destroy them. Well, actually, it really wasn't the military that was able to destroy. It was nature that destroying Rodan at the end of that. But that's also a good one. And that one they shot in color. That was like their first really like big blockbuster color monster movie. And then after that, then they did there was Godzilla Rides Again, which not that great of a movie. And they actually tried something that they realized was not going to work because with the original Godzilla, the movements are slow. They shot it, using slow motion to really, show just the hugeness and the destruction of this gigantic monster. So obviously you wouldn't be moving around like this. So when they did Godzilla Rides Again, they didn't really do that. So the movements as he's fighting Anguirus, I can never say his name, but it's all real fast,
Yeah,
and it just like it just kind of takes you out, It's like nah. But then when they went back to, I think maybe it was Godzilla versus Mothra, the first one they introduced the Mothra character. They got back to the way that they would. That Godzilla's known for with the way he traipses around town destroying things. So
well, and even like in the original, like they were saying like he's like 120 28 feet tall, and then like the American original is like he's like 400 feet tall. It's like, okay, well, which is it?
Yeah, that's like one of the things that's really interesting. Like the kind of the Godzilla keeps like shrinking and growing and throughout the years.
Yeah.
Even just recently, with the new Godzilla movie that's coming out, it's like King Kong is in the first movie Kong in Skull Island, he wasn't that big, and then all of a sudden now Kong is like the same about the same size as Godzilla, so that they can fight. So it could just be mere convenience, but then they also a lot of YouTube theorists and things like that they're arguing that when we meet Kong in the first movie, Kong of Skull Island, he's just like kind of like an adolescent, which does kind of pan out because like you see the Kong graveyard as it were, and you see like other others of his species, and so it's not out of the realm of possibility that he hasn't he at the time when we first meet him. He hasn't reached maturity.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I never liked the original, Godzilla versus King Kong. Because to me,
I have seen that. That's it.
I mean, but the thing is, to me, I'm sorry, man. Godzilla is just gonna like nuclear breath you to death, dude. I don't care how strong you are. And that's why I have like some real reservations about this new one coming out. Because I'm like, come on, you're gonna tell me that the power of that nuclear fiery breath is not going to do like some major damage. I mean, come on. I'm sorry, I can't buy that.
King Kong. Well, in this new one, King Kong's gonna have a hammer, like Thor. So,
Whatever, man. I don't know. They got to come up with something because it's like I'm not sold. If if this was real, there's no way King Kong would not be able to kick Godzilla's ass. No way. Godzilla is just
no way.
The movie would be done in like 2 minutes. It'd be like sticking, like I'm gonna go in the ring with Mike Tyson when he used to be able to box. Well, before going crazy. But same thing.
Yeah, before the face tattoo.
Yeah.
Before the face tattoo, right. I don't know. I'm curious to see how they're going to present this movie.
Well, I didn't watch the newest one, which I've heard is like semi decent. But I did watch Shin Godzilla that came out in 2016, and I honestly I feel like that is pretty like if I was gonna compare it to anything like it I think it's very faithful to the original, like as far as like the seriousness of it, and it wasn't just like some like it's camp. We're just kind of like not making fun of it. But it's like it's just part of like it's just a silly monster movie. No, this movie was done very seriously, except for the one scene with baby Godzilla, which was like, come on, you could have done better than that, guys.
Yeah, I didn't understand why they did that. But Shin Godzilla is a good movie. They the storyline and the characters and everything.
Itself like fully formed, it's horrifying. Like it's a really good version of Godzilla. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, but yeah, that baby Godzilla thing they came up with, the Google eyes, it just no, man. What?
Outside of that, if you can get past that, the rest of the movie is actually very good. I found myself really enjoying it. I was on the edge of my seat, to be honest. Because part of me is like, I didn't really want Godzilla to die, but at the same time, like you want the guys to win too. So
yeah,
I mean, I am Team Human, so
yeah, yeah. It's again when they did the remakes there were remakes basically for the ones in the 90s. Visually, they were done great. They look great, but again, dubbing atrocious. So much so that even Toho was pissed off about how shitty it was dubbed.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that those are like notoriously like really bad. well, and even like Shin Godzilla, like, initially, like the only one I could find was the dubbed version of that. And I'm looking at this and like cinematography wise, and like the way that like the actors are acting, and I was like, okay, this looks like it's gonna be really good. But then you hear the English voices, and I'm like, and it's just it does not match up at all. I'm like, what the? They couldn't get something better. Like, did they even like watch the movie? Did they even like try? Like, I understand wanting to do it like the dub version. Some people can't read that fast for subtitles, but did they even try?
Yeah.
And I feel like they didn't try, and the dub version almost ruins it. It ruins that movie. And I finally found the subtitle version. I was like, oh, thank God. And I watched that, and I was like, this is a great Godzilla movie. And like I said, it had that atmosphere that the original did, where it's a serious movie that has serious ramifications.
Yeah.
And the actors they weren't just playing around. They bought in, and I believe their characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the movie. It was showing one time in one theater in LA on maybe the day it was released, which was the original version with subtitles. And that's when I saw it in a theater, in a movie theater. So it was cool to see it, in that setting.
And it's so, yeah, and the other thing is that, well, Andy, like if you don't know about Andy's least favorite movie of all time is The Last Jedi. For we've talked about it ad nauseum on this podcast. I think that I would say I would go out on a limb and say that your least favorite movie is probably Godzilla 2000.
I don't even know what that is. I never heard of that. I'm sorry.
You don't. What? Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I think I'm picking up what you're putting down. What is it? Yeah, you don't. Yeah, you refuse to acknowledge its existence, which is how I feel. Yeah, exactly how I feel about Last Jedi.
Andy,
it doesn't exist.
How much I love. You know how much I love. This is not that. It is garbage. Like, it is awful. It is a.
Yeah. Robert loves. He's a fucking sadist. Robert is a fucking sadist. I come over and like he makes me watch some of like the most god awful shit, and he's just like laughing his ass off, enjoy. Like, I'm just sitting there like, God, this is so stupid. Why are we watching this? And he's just like gleeful at just like torturing me.
One of my favorite shows, if you don't know, Lane's Laire, is Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Right.
Yeah, and I forced Andy to watch awful movies, and I love torturing him with those, just because the look on his face. But you know what? I catch him laughing. So
it's probably laughing in disgust. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Credit where credit's due. And Robert at least shows me the like riff tracks version, or like the guys that used to do Mystery Science Theater. At least he shows me that, and not like, and he doesn't subject me to watching the original witut the commentary. Yeah, so I'll credit where credit's due, but he's still a fucking asshole for making me watch it.
Those movies are unwatchable without any sort of like making fun of them.
Yeah.
Godzilla 2000 is one of those movies. Like it's god awful.
It's not. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Just like Last Jedi doesn't exist. What is that? I don't know.
I just watched. Speaking of the Godzilla movies that I have Godzilla Final Wars.
Yeah.
Cheesy, man. Really cheesy. But it was Godzilla. But it's funny, even the Godzilla suit like wasn't even that great.
No.
It was pretty cheesy, and it had all aliens and whatever else thing. But it's funny because Keith Emerson from Emerson Lake and Palmer did the score for that movie.
Really? No way.
And that band Sum 41 has a song in that movie as well.
Wow.
It does? Wow.
So just for that, it was interesting to watch.
Well, I can even like take like some of like the campier like movies, like like the Gameras, some of like the stuff from like the 70s. Gamera is, oh man, I
Camera.
watch every Gamera film too. Because of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Um, but like I said, like I said, the ones from the 70s are very campy. But there's a charm to them too. Like they're not. I don't think they're trying to be serious. I think they're just trying to make a film.
To make
And
for kids. They're kid films.
yeah,
They're just kid films. That's all. And they're not supposed to be taken seriously.
they're not trying hard.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a kid watching a Gamera movie, and the monster he was fighting was like kind of a squid-looking thing, and then it would take its head and it made like a pointed head. And
Right.
so here's this turtle on the ground doing this because he can't roll over.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And the squid thing makes this giant point and just rams him right in the gut. And I'm talking like a hole like this. It's like, dude, Gamera, you're dead. I don't care. You're dead. There's no way, no way you would survive anything like that at all.
Yeah.
It's just like so campy, man.
But at the same time, it's great. And I'm pretty sure Lane's Lair is a huge fan of Jet Jaguar and like all
Well, again, those were, they're made for kids. It's like Power Rangers, it's like I'm sure that was Power Rangers inspiration was Jet Jaguar.
That's another like super long running franchise in Japan, the Super Sentai.
Yeah. Sure, so I mean, it made sense, to make those movies, um, back then, and yeah, they were mega campy. But like I say, even the Godzilla ones, like I like the Godzilla versus Mothra, Godzilla versus Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, like Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, when they introduced that character, which also brings in Mothra and Rodan in that movie. And then the other one is it is kind of cheesy and campy, but it's just always fun to watch. And that's Godzilla versus, well, the English version is Godzilla versus Monster Zero, or it's Godzilla versus Astro Monster. And that's what with, oh God, what's his name? The American actor is in that one, the blonde hair, Nick Adams. Nick Adams is
okay. All right.
And he plays a cheesy astronaut who's dating this Japanese girl who happens to be an alien, and he finds out that later on that she's an alien.
Jesus Christ!
It's just it's kind of campy and cheesy, but it's a fun movie. It's just fun. And again, original version or dubbed version, those movies are fine. The dubbed versions are definitely watchable. They're all done. It's done well.
Yeah, it's like at least they tried. That's the thing. Is like, but like I said, like some of these like ones that are dubbed, like you said, Shin Godzilla's dubbed. It's just a god awful. It ruins the movie because they're not trying.
I don't know what happened to, or like why the dubbing of those movies just like went down the tubes. I mean, you would think that it would improve,
Yeah.
Like, you can tell, especially with the ones in the 90s that they completely ruined, you can tell that they're in a studio. It sounds like they're in a studio, and then when it's supposed to be a crowd, yeah, that crowd of 200 people running away, sounds really big when you have 10 people standing around a microphone going, run, run. It sounds like shit, man. It's like I don't understand why they didn't, at least make an effort. There's like zero efforts. I don't blame Toho for being like, fuck those guys, man. This is awful. And when I was in Japan, I wanted to try to find those movies because I wanted to get a copy. But then I think I might have found one or found it in one of their video stores, but I wasn't sure if it would even play. Even though
region stuff,
it may not have played. But I'll tell you what I did get. This great little snow globe, Godzilla globe.
Oh, nice.
I love how he just appears when all that just goes away.
Yeah.
And here's something that's also really interesting that I picked up in Japan. It's this is like from the new Godzilla, because there's there's little Godzilla, and then there's this. So this is like Elvis in the '60s, and then Fat Elvis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when the American Godzilla came out, just a few years ago. I believe I read something that the Japanese weren't happy about like the size of him. Like they made him like the design was like too chonkers for them or something.
Yeah, it was huge. Now it's funny. So I picked this up in Japan. This Godzilla is literally a weapon. If you touch these spines hard enough, you will be bleeding. If you grab this, you can stab somebody with this tail, and you can literally say, "Oh yeah, he died. Yeah, he was killed by Godzilla."
Wow.
That might be worthy of killing somebody with, just to say that.
I know, right?
It's crazy. Like I couldn't believe how sharp. It's like just in a novelty store in Japan.
Wow. Yeah, Japan's awesome, dude. Dude, there's
Yeah,
no way. Yeah, there's no way that would be allowed in America these days.
No way. Not even.
Yeah, and I remember I used to have a Godzilla figurine. And yeah, I remember. I mean, it wasn't probably to the extent that you just showed us, but it was like very detailed, and yeah, I could, if you stepped on it, yeah, you'd probably be breaking skin. I mean, not very deeply, but you'd still be breaking skin.
The plastic on that is really hard. It's not even flimsy. It's hard and sharp.
Nice.
Do you have a favorite version of Godzilla? Like, do you like the original design? Do you like some of the newer ones? Do you like?
Yeah, no, I think I do. God, I wish I have it somewhere. It might be in my studio here. Because that was another thing that I got in Japan was this folder, and it had on one side it had like you were saying about the sizes of Godzilla through the years, and on the other side had his head, like how the head changed throughout the years. Let me check. It might be in the closet here. I'm gonna double check. If it is, I'd like to show it to you because it's actually really cool. But I don't know if it is here. Not seeing it. That's bad. I wish I would have looked at that thing. I'm not seeing it. That's too bad. Oh wait, hold on. One more spot. Is it here? And it is. No, sorry guys, I can't find it. But it was a really great illustration of, how he changed over the years.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I don't know where I put it. I need to put it in a frame and hang it up somewhere. But and it's in color, so it's really cool. But I would have been able to point out to you that I like this Godzilla.
Oh, okay.
The one from the original movie is okay.
Yeah.
Not my favorite. There's probably I think maybe the ones in the '60s, but it depends. Like maybe the Godzillas from Godzilla versus Mothra or Ghidorah or Astro Monster or whatever, that era from like 65, 66 era, 67. When it started to get into the late 60s or especially in the 70s, like he really became really goofy looking.
It feels like it's like a little cartoony in a sense.
Yeah. And I think that they were doing that because they were gearing those movies for kids.
Okay.
Anyway, Godzilla. What did I watch? Oh, Godzilla versus the Sea Monster, which is cheesy. Godzilla versus the Smog Monster.
Oh, Smog Monster. Yeah, I mean, just like the titles, just kind of paints the picture of how like kind of ridiculous that they were starting to get, and they're nerfing the edges a bit. Probably again, like you were saying, probably because they're trying to shift demographics to children.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when they came out with Godzilla in 1985, I think that's when they were trying to like move it more towards being a serious movie, a serious remake. It's not the greatest, but I could see that they were trying to make an effort,
they were trying to shift back to like what worked.
Yeah. And then the Godzilla that they had for like the '90s movies, he's pretty big, he's pretty fat Elvisy, but it's not a bad design.
Oh, you mean the Emmerich Godzilla you're talking?
Who?
Roland Emmerich when he made his from '98.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, okay, I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
No, I'm talking about the Toho ones from the mid '90s. Godzilla versus Destroyer, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla.
Yeah.
Those movies.
I haven't seen them, but I've seen like the pictures and some like the footage from them, and it's like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Again, from a visual standpoint, it's pretty cool. I just really wish that I was able to acquire the original non-dubbed subtitled version. I know there's one out there. I just got to find it.
Hopefully, one of these days we'll find it, because I mean, they look like they'd be really great movies, but like I said, the dubbing just ruins it.
Absolutely, just horrible. Just horrible. Yeah. But
Well,
yeah. Let's we can kind of been going on and on about it. And I'm pretty sure we're like since I think we've said everything that we wanted to say about the movie for the review. So let's get into our ratings. We usually give a rating out of 5. So yeah, Lane's Lair. Since it is your movie, why don't you start us off with the rating for Godzilla?
I would say for the original version, it really was a milestone for what they were doing at that time. It really set the stage for an incredible franchise. I think the movie itself was done very well, and it was taken very seriously by everyone involved to present something as a possibility, as if this had this really happened. I thought their approach was done very well. I thought the use of using a Godzilla suit, and like you said,
practical effects.
Right. From going from like the King Kong from the '30s, right, to that was definitely a step forward into making these types of movies. I think overall, I give it, if not a 5, definitely a 4.5. It really, it's a good movie. It's just a good movie. It does tug on your emotions, especially at the end. It's a melancholy ending, man. It's a sad ending, but it really makes you think, and that's the whole purpose, I think, of why they making this movie. It's like, hey, we really need to think about things, and like you say, the depth of the topics that they brought up, especially in the Japanese version, are really things that make a lot of sense even nowadays.
For my rating, I agree with you with Lane's Lair. It's just like, it's a 4.5. The original Japanese is a 4.5 to 5 star. Like for all the reasons that he just pointed out. Like the American original is a very it's a competent movie in its own right. Definitely worthy of being watched. And even me, I watched Shin Godzilla. I think that's a great modern version of the original Godzilla. I felt like they really went back to basics and what they were trying to do, in the original. But the original is really, it is, to me, it's one of the best. It's a great movie. Deserves to be watched. I mean, it's kind of how I feel about King Kong. It's so good, especially for what they were attempting to do, all the practical effects, and I mean, you can see in the Japanese one, there's places where you see where it's models that they're doing, but they do a really great job of merging that with real footage at the same time, and it spawned a huge following, a huge film franchise.
Yeah, and just a real quick addition to that, with the models that they did build, they did them so well that they broke apart like a real building would break apart. They made those models look very realistic, and that
Oh,
they
they
were
did a
really,
great job.
yeah, I think they're really the first to really pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, with both of you. If not a 5, a 4, I definitely give it a 4. This was, again, for all the reasons that you cited, one like really great, effects, and even just the attempts that they were making, and just making progress for, like, just the cinematic arts. Just for the attempt, they should be they should be applauded for their efforts. Yeah, definitely would recommend this movie. It's strange because, like, a lot of times a lot of movies, they'll try to hit on different topics, and the movie suffers for it. But I think in this movie, they actually broach a lot of different topics, and they do it successfully. Because they don't, like, linger. They touch on them. They have, like, a quick back and forth, and it's left up to the viewer to come down on whichever side. And I think people, if they want to, if a lot of screenwriters and directors, they want to try and accomplish the same thing, they should definitely watch the original version of Godzilla to get some pointers.
100%.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, keeping in mind this is a movie from 1954, so I think they did a great job and made it it was modern for its time, and still it still holds up. It's a good film, great film.
Absolutely. All right, yeah, that's our review for Godzilla with Lane's Lair. Kind of all the way around. If not a 5 movie, definitely within the 4s. Definitely would recommend this movie. Especially if you're a fan of monster movies, and if you want, I mean, aside from King Kong, the original King Kong, this Godzilla is definitely the granddaddy of the kind of giant monster genre. So you should really do yourself a favor and watch this movie. Um, if nothing, you will be very impressed, and don't let the age deter you, as some might be deterred by such things. Really do give it a watch. You will be impressed.
Yep.
All right.
Right on.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. I hope you were entertained. I hope you were delighted and and challenged. Don't forget to check out the library of other content we have: the Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's Gaming Show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ, and Instagram at Circular Jerks Podcast. Lane's Laire, do you have any social media or you want to plug here?
Yeah, I have have a couple of things from my music. There's laneslair.com. You can just go to the website and it'll take you to everything you need to know about my band. Also, I've branched off to another business, laneslairsbootcamp.com. It's a fitness, health and fitness business. Basically, we do workouts and stress management and combine the two. Very positive online live interactive workouts. And we also have videos that you can do on your own if you can't make the live classes. But check it out, laneslairsbootcamp.com.
All right, there you have it. Thank you again for joining us, and we'll do it all again next week.
Awesome.